into roll call. The movie you selected is Legend of Bagger Vance, starring Will Smith.
Neo Jack Swing
Beep beep, get in, losers. We're gonna go rate this movie. Welcome to Roll Call, the show where two childless millennials gush over movies and follow an actor's journey from their early years throughout their blockbuster hits.
Because, let's face it, we're all just wandering through a golf course late at night, trying to get to our nearest blockbuster for the chase that is renting out a lovely sports movie. I don't know. This movie's kind of a mess. But anyways, you know, it's a power trip to walk through a golf course at night, I'm sure. Whatever you're doing. Shenanigans, playing golf, mooning people. Fun.
Sure, just like how it was, I'm sure, a power trip to be a white man in the 1920s, even in the Depression era.
Ooh, bazinga.
Bazinga. I'll pull up my little suspenders for that one.
What's up, everybody? I'm Bria, and I, too, believe that black people are magical. I just think we don't have to help white people while doing it.
I'm Simone. I really have no follow-up to that, but I guess sometimes I feel as though I've lost my swing.
I mean, there's some aspects of this movie that, you know, on a human being level, you're like, wow, that's kind of motivational, a la most sports movies are. But the vehicles in which we tell these tales, learn and grow. All right, everybody, in case you didn't listen through the intro, you didn't look at what episode you clicked on, just so you know, we're talking about Will Smith in the 2000 motivational sports movie, The Legend of Bagger Vance. So, let's take a trip back to November of 2000.
Here it comes, millennium.
Or the Willennium. If you listen to our previous episode, we talked about Will Smith's album, Willennium, and for that album, he was on Jet magazine, which was pretty dope, which I'm sad that I didn't realize or look into then, but he performed that at the White House in 1999, like for Bill Clinton. How Y2K. But he's also on the cover of Jet for Bagger Vance. And let's get into 2000s Will pop culture. We have a major event for the Pinkett Smith family. Willow Smith is born in November of 2000. My fellow Scorpio sister, little Y2K baby. What a time for her to be alive. Kobe and Shaq win their first championship, and guess what the inside of their ring is engraved with?
Like something engraved, like initials or words?
Words, yeah, like a saying.
Is it something like really Y2K, like what's up?
Yes, it's bling bling.
Oh, okay, love it. Bling bling.
Yes, so I just thought that was notable, and also in this issue of Jet, so I caught that, and I was like, wow, that's such a 2000s thing to put inside your championship ring.
Yes, it was.
So I think that black pop culture is beautiful and amazing in all decades, but I really think we realize, like, we gotta document some of this in the 2000s, or like maybe it was easier to document and to reference stuff. So, because I know looking at like stuff for the 90s, I've been trying to splice together stuff, but there's an article on Essence that I'm going to steal from, 10 very black moments we need to revisit from 2000. So, let's do it, baby. Number 1, they have D'Angelo. So in 2000, he releases his album Voodoo, which has the classic hit Untitled How Does It Feel, with the legendary music video where he is shirtless and practically, I'm pretty sure he's naked, but, or he had like one of those loincloth situations, but the abs, like, galore. Simone, have you seen this video?
I don't think, or if I have, I need to refresh my memory.
Pause, please.
Okay.
Watch this video because your reaction, I'm sure we gotta get this.
Okay.
It's
all
gonna
right.
be
All right, let me go to YouTube. All right, what am I typing in?
D'Angelo, How Does It Feel? Or Untitled.
Okay.
Imagine Kevin comes in.
All right, we get, oh, the lip lick. Okay. We get a slow pan out from the face. I have a feeling I know it's coming. Oh! Oh! Was he really naked filming this?
I don't know. He might have had like, just very
The
low.
cover. Oh my God. That is what we call a deep V.
Yes.
And like that swimmer's cut.
Woo, man. All I know is that this video went triple platinum in a lot of households. I definitely remember like a commotion going on about like trying to watch this video. Like, I think my mom or like somebody in my house or a cousin, or I don't remember exactly who, but just being like, "Oh, did you flip to that D'Angelo video?" Like,
little perverts.
right? So even at a young age, I knew that this was probably Genuine and D'Angelo were probably amongst many of my faves when it came to the ab game from the 2000s and 90s. So
yeah.
Beautiful. Speaking of abs, we have number 2, Aaliyah comes into the game with her hit song Try Again for Romeo Must Die, which, just, I'm sure every kid had a dance routine to that video in their head, or were trying to do like the martial arts moves, and love that movie. Number 3, shout out to No More Late Fees in our Love and Basketball episode. But Love and Basketball comes out, they note, as Sanaya Lathan's first standout role after being in The Wood and The Best Man. And, we talked about that movie at nauseum, so go check out that episode with our pals. And then number 4, we've got another, I would say another classic, but a comedy. The Nutty Professor sequel, The Clumps, came out, which gave us the beautiful hit single Doesn't Really Matter from the soundtrack with Janet Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is funny because Janet's in the sequel, but Jada's in the first one. So,
oh, right, I forgot.
Yes, with Danielle, as you said, that atrocious wig that they gave her. And number 5 is that Prince changed his name back from The Symbol to Prince. And
that's right.
Had a press conference and asked artists to challenge major labels, and probably in terms of like masters and their rights to their music and stuff like that. He's definitely at the forefront of that. R.I.P. to the purple one. Number 6, we have The Real World New Orleans, which gave us the gem that is Come On Be My Baby Tonight. Do you know that?
Come on, be my baby tonight. Something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm totally redoing. I'm probably really funny.
I can't remember the like musicality of it, but it is a viral real world moment that has kind of garnered a life of its own at this point. But, shout out to David Broom.
Yes, that's right. Because it sounds like similar to You Give Me Fever in the Morning, Fever When You Hold Me Tight. It just, that kind of reminds me of that. Yes, I remember that.
What a moment. Number 8 is titled Remember the Titans, but oh no, I skipped. So number 7, I'm like, why is there a picture of Destiny's Child? Number 7, Destiny's Child, they were chart topping with singles like Independent Women. Survivor came out in 2000. They survived a big girl group drama fiasco in losing two members and replacing them, and then losing another member and trudging forward as the trio that became DC3. I could go talk about Destiny's Child all day. Number 8, Remember the Titans, the movie. Denzel Washington comes out. Notable moment, I think, for him. Number 9, Outkast. You know, they had a hit album after, they had a hit album with Aquemini, and sure, their, I think this is their sophomore album. I'm trying to think. I can't remember. But they come out with Stankonia, which has the huge hits like So Fresh, So Clean, Miss Jackson, and Bombs Over Baghdad. So, I mean, they were everywhere as well at that time. And a legendary album cover with the black and white American flag and Andre 3000 doing his best in his leather hot pants. And number 10, even Essence can't deny the game changer that was the iPod. Has nothing to do with black people, really. But they put this on their list. So I thought this was a pretty fun list. And then, so let's get into the box office. What movies were coming out in November of 2000 alongside Legend of Bagger Vance? We've got Billy Elliot.
Oh, I love that movie.
I've never seen it, but it looks interesting. Charlie's Angels, again, the huge Independent Women song, but a remake nonetheless that has earned a special place in our millennial hearts.
Lucy Liu, With My Girl Drew, Cameron D, and Destiny. Charlie's Angels, come on.
Question?
Tell me what you think about this.
So, question, Simone, what do you feel about Little Nicky?
So, this was a movie that I saw in theaters, and shout out to my friend, one of my oldest elementary school friends, lifelong friend Morgan. This was a movie that we watched so much that we could probably quote, not probably by heart, but like quote pretty much throughout. So, it's really not that great compared to Adam Sandler's other comedies, but for some reason, we just got really obsessed with Little Nicky.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of kids did, especially because it was about, like, hell and stuff, and you always want to like the stuff you're not supposed to be watching, so.
Yeah, and this was kind of at the start, or maybe right before the Ozzy Osbourne show came out, or maybe as it was coming out, and he has this, like, big old cameo in it, and I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, we should talk about the Osbournes one time. Men of Honor comes out in November of 2000. How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey comes out.
Classic.
The Rugrats in Paris comes out. 102 Dalmatians comes out. And I had to throw this one in because it has our daddy, Ben Affleck, in Bounce, which absolutely haven't heard of this movie, but I was like, oh, Ben's in this. Throw this in there.
That must have been a romantic comedy. I think it was.
I don't know, but maybe I'll put it on my short list of, like, dumb movies I should watch. I don't know if it's dumb or not, but I haven't heard of it. It's not a movie that people talk about.
Oh, yeah. It's with Gwyneth Paltrow. They say it's
this was probably when they were dating.
Probably. It's an hour and 45. It's really short. Probably has terrible reviews.
See what Lil Raj thinks of that.
I mean, I could look right now if you want.
No, but, I mean, please do tell us. You know, what did Lil Raj think of this movie? What was the budget for this movie and the box office numbers?
Yes. So, Legends of Bagger Vance is really divided in the movie viewer community. Some viewers, maybe more so that happen to be lovers of the sport golf, really like this movie, while some critical viewers really pick apart some of the really unfortunate controversial parts of it, which we'll get into. So but the box office numbers don't lie. So Legends of Bagger Vance had a budget of $80 million. They did shoot in Savannah, Georgia, and some of the golf courses I think were in like one of the Carolinas, South Carolina maybe. So like budgeting wise for set location, probably pretty low. But a lot of it we're assuming goes to this huge cast. And opening weekend, the movie grossed $11.5 million. Gross between the US and Canada was 30.9 million, and total gross worldwide was half the budget, $40 million.
Yikes.
Wow, wow, wow. So, interestingly, though, we're kind of going to be pulled along for a little bit of a ride here. So, box office numbers, as we know, don't lie, but Lil Raj gave this movie 3.5 out of 4 stars. Probably
Roger.
a fan of Roger. You wild card.
This is not the House of La Raj anymore. It is like the Ebert Plantation. What the?
Oh my god.
Take us through this this explanation.
So Roger, I don't know, maybe he's a fan of golf, maybe that's where it comes from, but he goes, look how silky this movie is and how completely in command of its tone. Robert Redford's The Legend of Bagger Vance could be a movie about prayer, music, or mathematics because it's really about finding yourself at peace with the thing you do best. Most of the movie is about an epic golf tournament, but it's not a sports movie in any conventional sense. It's the first Zen movie about golf. He says, he later on goes on to say, it handles a sports movie the way Billie Holiday handled a trashy song, by finding the love and pain beneath the story. Robert Redford and his writer Jeremy Levine want to explain why it's possible to devote your life to the love of golf, and they want to hint that golf and life may have a lot in common. Excuse me. Okay, I must correct myself. Lil Raj says, I'm not a golfer. That doesn't matter. Golf or any game is not about the rules or tools, but about how you conduct yourself. Civilized games make civilized society. You look at the movie and you see that if athletes are not gentlemen and gentlewomen, there's no reason to watch them. Michael Jordan is a gentleman. Roger Clemens is not. You see how it works.
A-Rod is not.
Fuck you, A-Rod. He goes, nothing's pushed too far in this movie. It is a masterpiece of tact. Not even the outcome of the tournament is pumped up for effect. Quietly, the movie suggests that how the tournament is won is more about than who wins it. As for the romance, it's a minor key good for regret and the tremulous hope. But doesn't really pick apart necessarily Will Smith. Like, he does say Will Smith could make Bagger Vance insufferable, but the part is written and played to make it more of a bemused commentary. He has theories about golf and ways of handling his player and advice, but it's also oblique and understated. No violins. Is he a real person or is he a spirit? You tell me. Oh, and the kid, I guess he's necessary because he has to grow up and become an old man to tell the story. So he probably did not think too much of this child acting in this movie.
I mean, I like the child actor in this, and he was not like this was his first movie role. Like, he was a newcomer. But his role kind of reminded me of like The Sandlot or, something like that. Or this movie definitely gave me Notebook feelings, sans romance.
I think one of the writers later on, or one of the screenwriters or someone in this movie went on to do The Notebook.
Oh, okay. Because I was just like, I know this movie is not like The Notebook in terms of it being about a love story, but
Right.
man, am I getting some Notebook like feels the verbiage and vocabulary and the southern soliloquies like um
Absolutely.
just made me feel like that. So, I'm curious, clearly Lil Raj was hogging the butter pump for this one. How many pumps of butter are you gonna give? It's like butter, baby,
It's
bringing
like
it smooth
butter.
and hot.
Bria, my patience for this movie were as thin as Charlize Theron's eyebrows.
I knew you were gonna mention her eyebrows, but I was not prepared.
I mean, I'm not all that into sports, like I'll go to a baseball game. I've gone to a couple of like basketball game finales and stuff with you and Jessica. But I've never been to a live football game. Certainly have never fucked with golf because I just think it's so insufferable and boring. So I think because of that, this movie was difficult for me to get through, in addition to some of the like stereotypes about Black Americans during this time. So I'm giving this movie 1 pump of butter. The 1 pump comes for the cast. I love Will Smith. I have a lot of respect for Matt Damon and Charlize Theron. But for overall story, this movie was really difficult for me to get through. Like I had to pause frequently to like get up and eat. Just like take a break.
You're stress eating. You're like, I need a snack for this shit.
And it wasn't even like the stress of the game. It was just like, why is this movie 2 hours? Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with, a nice hearty churned pump and a half. I think again, like you said, the cast, the director, Robert
Yeah.
Redford, I love a good sports movie. I like sports, but there's sports that I think are super entertaining in a movie compared to like actually watching them. And
Mhm.
so golf is one of those movies like Tin Cup, Happy Gilmore, make it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
The Mighty Ducks and hockey, I'm not
Yeah.
watching a Sharks game, but
Oh,
I will
totally.
watch, yeah, I will
Yeah.
watch the fuck out of Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
But the half is for the I think the message of this movie is well intended,
Agreed.
and it actually comes from the typical hero's journey, but it's loosely based on a Hindu text.
Mhm.
So I know there's problematic racial things in this movie, which, like you said, we'll talk about. But like the through message of this movie is good. So I feel like that's my little half pump of like it did make me think about some things,
Yeah.
So I'm like for that you get a little more extra credit, but I'm snatching half that pump back for my people. So let's get into the cast a bit, since that was part of the saving grace of this movie. Outside of Will Smith, like you said, we have some notable members in this cast. We've got 4 Oscar winners in this cast: Matt Damon, Charlize Theron, Will Smith, and the narrator Jack Lemmon. All Oscar winners, and some other recognizable faces like Bruce McGill. I'm like, that is an actor who just has like the face and look for these types of like characters,
He can kind of like, I almost expected to see John Goodman in this movie too. Like he could have easily been like the mayor or someone else in the town. Like he just has the face of a Southern man.
Yeah, exactly. So I was waiting for Colonel Sanders to pop through, or Mark Twain, or somebody, somebody in a white linen suit with the nice. Well, I do.
Cane.
Yeah, well, I do declare.
has this little mint julep. Like, nah, we're gonna play a game of golf.
I was not expecting Charlize Theron like as this Southern Belle kind of Harris character. I've seen Charlize and things, but I haven't gone out of my way to like watch a lot of her movies. But I obviously love her, amazing actress, beauty, all that stuff. But I was like, oh my god, like Charlize Theron with a Southern accent, like wasn't in my mind anywhere. So
Yeah.
it took a moment to adjust. I think Matt Damon fit this beautifully. I will say there are multiple times he's giving me like major Leo vibes.
Oh, just the hair, you think?
Yeah, I think it was the hair, and then like when he was in like the white tie and the black tie outfits, it made me think of
Mm-hmm.
Titanic, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, oh, I could see Leo in this possibly, like, but also Brad Pitt was offered the role of
Yeah.
Juno, so
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see him as well. But what are your thoughts on these guys in this cast?
Yeah, so this was actually Jack Lemmon's last and final movie. And so I think for probably a lot of the dads who were watching this probably took that to heart. I know that like Jack Lemmon's a person that my dad like highly respects and is always like, if you want to see acting or like Hollywood and it's like mid-century formatting, like you go watch Jack Lemmon movies. Um, I like Charlize Theron or Theron. I don't know. There's multiple ways to probably pronounce that name, but her character kind of reminded me of Lottie from Princess and the Frog, but not as
Yeah,
like she's spoiled. She's definitely a spoiled, privileged girl who's like trying to keep her money and her business alive in this depression era, but she's a lot more like strong-headed and like independent maybe than Lottie was, but just I and just with the way her like haircut was and her style, obviously it like takes place around the same time, same location-ish of the South, and I had that hairstyle throughout junior and senior year of high school, and so when I was looking at that, I was like, my eyebrows and hair looked almost identical. Like I'm nowhere near as pretty as her, but like I saw and I kind of really got into that like flapper girl style during that time. So
yeah.
I like weirdly saw myself in her a little bit. Flash. I'll like put a little picture up there for the socials of me at prom, which is just in this like flapper dress and a little feather, and I did the like finger curls and stuff in my hair. Anyways, blah blah blah. Enough about me. Um, the child, so the kid actor, J. Michael Moncrief. This was his first breakout role, but I didn't really see his other work when you look him up on IMDb. He's really not in much. In fact, his picture is still his picture from himself in Legends of Bagger Vance. He was born in 87, so he's a few years older than us. But he does more like editing and writing than acting anymore.
Yeah. He beat roughly like 2,000 other boys for this role. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Hmm.
I always think it's interesting when there's like kid actors who they discover for a movie and they
Mm-hmm.
like do really well, but like they don't necessarily have success throughout like Hollywood after that, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of, I kind of wonder like what that feels like. But
Yeah.
maybe good for them for escaping the hellscape that is being a child actor. So,
Very true.
I did not mention Joel Gresh, who plays the other pro golfer, Bobby
Mm.
Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And Walter Hagen and Bobby Jones are actually real golfers.
Yes, they are.
So, this movie has a tinge of historic accuracy, but a lot of continuity errors in terms of timing. So there's some things like they actually like golfed and stuff against each other like in
Mm-hmm.
1930, or Bobby Jones actually won like all the Grand Slams in 1930.
Yeah.
But
And I think he also had some kind of a penalty similar to how
uh-huh.
Juna did with like the ball moving and stuff at the end of it. But Oh shit, was it? Oh yeah, so in addition to this movie also being based on, like, loosely based on Hindu sacred texts, there was a novel written in 1995 with the same title, The Legends of Bagger Vance, fictional novel, a historical fiction novel, using those golfer names, but then having the other fictionalized characters in there.
Yeah, and the names Bagger, Vance, and Juna are from the text. So there's the war hero Arjuna,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the god Krishna, who appears as Bhagavan, Bagger
Mm-hmm.
Vance.
Mm-hmm.
So um, definitely did some homework on this to make this script and movie. So let's get into the movie in case the people don't want to bother with this 2 hour motivational golf film with racial issues. Simone, what's this movie about?
All right, we're gonna do a number one molasses, a number two molasses, and away we go. All right, I'm gonna try and do the summary of the film in my best Savannah, Georgian accent. As an old man having a sixth heart attack while playing golf, Hardy Jeeves, played by Jack Lemmon, contemplates how his late wife used to ask him why he kept playing a game that seemed destined to kill him. Explaining his love for the game, he begins. I'm losing it, I'm dropping it. He begins the story of his childhood idol, Ranulph Juno, played by Matt Damon. This movie is told through the perspective of a young Hardy Greaves. Juno is the favorite son of Savannah, Georgia, a noteworthy golfer from a wealthy family, and he and his beautiful girlfriend, debutante Adele Eva Gordon, played by Charlize Theron, seem to have it all. But while serving as a captain in the U.S. Army during World War I, Juna is traumatized when his entire company is wiped out in battle. Though he earns the Medal of Honor, he disappears after the war, returning to Georgia years later as a broken-down alcoholic. At the start of the Great Depression, circa 1930, Adele is trying to recover her... I'm going Australian, hold on. Adele is trying to recover her family's lost fortune by holding a 4-round, 2-day exhibition match between Bobby Jones and Walter Hagen, the best golfers of the era, with a grand prize of $10,000 at the golf resort of her family opened as the Depression struck. However, needing a local participant and local hero to gain the interest, a young Greaves speaks up for his hero Juna, prompting Adele to ask her estranged lover to play. While on the fence, Juna is approached by a mysterious traveler carrying a suitcase who appears while he is trying to hit golf balls into the dark void of the night. The man identifies himself as Bagger Vance and says he will be his caddy. With Greaves as an assistant caddy, Bagger helps Juna come to grips with his personal demons and play golf again. Will Bagger Vance help Juna get his swing back? You must watch this boring golf movie to find out. This movie is brought to you in part by montages of sad golf in the rain, thick Georgian accents, white privilege, and negative Black American stereotypes. Legends of Bagger Vance.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you. As I was getting ready, like, an hour ago, I was like, whatever, doing stuff in the bathroom. And then I was like, Georgia, molasses, let it come to you. Let it flow out. Get ready for it.
And for that, I give you our Golden Butter Award.
Oh my stars! I do declare what an honor that is.
Butter and oil.
Butter and all. Now that just makes me think of Paula Dean, who does live in Savannah, Georgia.
Yes, and who was also racist.
God damn it, Paula. She broke my fucking heart.
I think she broke a lot of people, even black people. We were like, fuck, we liked her. God damn it.
God fucking damn it.
She gave us Down Home with the Neelys, which they got divorced, but I mean, I feel like the more that I entrench myself in this podcast and creating content about celebrities, the more I just feel like, we're all human, and some of these people have a lot of unredeemable qualities sometimes. And, I'm gonna enjoy the work, and I don't know these people, so it is what it is.
It is what it is. And while I was watching this movie, I kept on thinking about, like, should I just let this movie? Should this just be a golf movie? And should I really try to pick apart all these things? But I say yes. So I'm curious to hear a perspective as we get now more into character and acting choices. Bria, I know, like, I don't want to obviously have you carry this weight of the perspective about this film, but I'm really curious about your reactions as you were watching this.
Well, I've been really tired, so I tried to watch this movie at 10 o'clock last night, which isn't very late for me, really, but I fell asleep.
Yeah.
So I had to wake up early, which isn't hard, but I woke up and watched this, and I also was like one eye, and then, but I mean, the sports movie of it all, like, again, like I said, I enjoyed the message of it. And as problematic as the South is, there is, like, a magical quality of that, like, country, Southern, like, it looks gorgeous. I really want to visit, like, places like the Carolinas and stuff, because it just looks really beautiful as well. But in the back of my mind too, I'm just like, like, historically, there's a lot of poor history there as well. But mostly in the back of my mind, I was like, there's this thing, like, is that real, or am I making that up? And it's called the magical negro trope. And so after I looked it up afterwards, because I was like, I'm gonna pay attention. I also didn't take notes while watching this movie. Usually I'll take notes and, like, point out interesting scenes or dialogue and stuff that I want to remember. But I was like, you know what? I feel like we're gonna have plenty to talk about without talking about plot points or quotes. So
Right.
but back to the magical Negro stereotype, I looked up some stuff regarding this. So it's hilarious, because when I Googled it, the first thing that comes up is, well, underneath it says film character, but there's a picture of Will and Matt from Bagger Vance. And so the definition from via Wikipedia that pops up on Google is, in the cinema of the United States, the magical Negro is a supporting stock character who comes to the aid of white protagonists in a film. Magical Negro characters, who often possess special insight or mystical powers, have long been a tradition in American fiction. And then also in the Wikipedia of the Legend of Bagger Vance, there's some links and stuff, and so one of them is Spike Lee slams this
I read that
trope. Yeah, because, if you've done your reading in high school or middle school, you've read books like Huck Finn or of Mice and Men, where you have these traditional characters that, are maybe a slave, or, these kind of quote unquote, like, lowly, helpless Black characters that magically, again, come to the aid, or in some way are interacting with a white character, and like a white savior type of complex. But Spike Lee points out that in the 90s, there's this shift that it's not just the, those old, typical stereotype, typical imagery or images that, film kind of got smart and did the okie doke, and you have movies like The Green Mile and even The Matrix with Morpheus, which, like, I never would have been like, oh, that's a magical Negro, like, but it's this weird dichotomy where it's like, okay, we're gonna make this special Black person that's gonna aid this white character, which, again, The Matrix, it could have been reversed. It could have been Will as Neo, but I digress. we're going to make this special person who's going to aid this person in their hero's journey. But they're super powerful themselves. And that's the part where I opened up the show, where it's like Black people are magical, and a lot of races have very special things about themselves and their culture that they contribute to the world. But in America, we have a storied history with Black and white people, but it's weird to see, like Spike Lee points out, it's like so troubling to think that let me find the quote, but it's so troubling to think that, okay, we're gonna put Black people in this movie, and they're gonna help this white character and have all these special powers or whatever, but they're not going to use that to help themselves. Like, why are we doing this to help a white person, like, instead of helping another Black person? And especially in this era where it's like there was lynching still going on.
Yes. Yeah, and I read that article as well, and I tried to pull up like different articles specifically written by Black writers to get their perspective, because anyone can review a movie and like talk about it, but people come with different backgrounds and perspectives and like cultural connections to these kinds of roles in movies, and so I wanted to make sure that I didn't just rely on Lil Raj. I'm like trying to gain more perspective through this, and so it's a great article, and he had talked about like the historical significance of this movie, and that's something that really drove me bananas, was that this movie pays so much attention to post World War I and Great Depression America, but completely glosses over the racial issues that were happening in the South at the time, that there's no way that a Black caddy would be able to probably be allowed on the golf field during a game like this, or without being allowed on a golf field without some kind of discrepancy or questioning or whatever. Like, I just, you can still have a golf movie and touch about racial issues and still have it be about golf and still get your point across about overcoming adversity and finding your swing and finding your rhythm and overcoming your problems and issues. So after I had finished watching the movie and started reading those articles, I realized that was like my biggest disconnect with it.
Yeah, I will point out too that, like, typical when we talk about diversity, that Spike Lee does point out that we can't expect like white writers and directors and stuff to make these situations where, okay, let's imagine that Bagger Vance was a Black story about a Black golfer and trying to push through the adversity of racism and how that impacted his game and being in a tournament or allowed on courses and stuff like that. Like, that could work, but obviously we tell stories that we relate to, right? And so Spike Lee, and obviously this is like the 2000s, late 90s, is pointing out that, and we've come a long way in terms of Black creatives getting a chance to make Black movies, TV shows, films, and whatnot. But I think that it's amazing that he was already on this, that we have to take that into our hands, and we need the opportunities to be able to tell the stories we want to tell. And he wanted to do a Jackie Robinson movie, which we eventually got, but he had trouble funding it. Or he wanted to do a boxing movie about who is it? Joe Louis, which still haven't gotten. But like, and that's also my problem with diversity, is like, we have so many stories to tell and so many amazing people and, stories, again, just stories to tell, that sometimes we get pigeonholed into these certain tropes, and it's like, there's so much more to us. And again, like I said, there's definitely historically gotta be, I know there's one, I can't remember his name because I know Steph Curry paid tribute to him when he passed, but there's legendary Black golfers. Like, why don't we tell that story? I'm sure eventually somewhere down the line there will be a Tiger Woods something. But I'm just, again, choosing to quote Spike Lee, he says one of his own goals is to portray different images of Black people. And I think this movie just again falls into one of those problematic images. And again, Bagger Vance is like mysterious and like we don't know where he comes from. He's
Yes,
just
he
like,
just shows up and is just so happens to be, I don't know, like a golf protege or again this like mystical, all-knowing, wise, let me give you some like funny, sarcastic advice and we're just supposed to like believe it. And for
yeah.
a movie, and again, I didn't read the book, and I don't know too much about the like the Hindu text that it's based off of. But for a movie that is called The Legend of Bagger Vance, but to like pay no attention to who he was, his backstory, where he came from, and give him growth as a character, just was a disconnect for me.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, there's still movies that do this that, like, I also was thinking about The Preacher's Wife with Denzel, where he's an angel and he comes into Courtney B. Vance and Whitney Houston's life and, like, kind of helps them in their marriage and their church and all of these things. And he just disappears afterwards. He's an angel, so, you know, he was sent for a mission and then went home. But he's helping black people. Like, he's not showing up in like some ritzy white, you know, neighborhood like, oh no, you guys have interfamily turmoil.
Oh, your
Like,
country club is not being funded. Oh no.
the Great Depression is threatening your wealth. Oh wow. Like, so I mean, yeah.
Bitch,
So
me too. The fuck?
So to not harp on this too much, which I mean, rightfully we are, but the good things about this movie are, you know, there's a clip of him doing an interview kind of for the movie. He talks about how the relationship between Bagger is the power that we all search for, like the happiness of all the things that we search for externally are inside of us. And that's like the part of the movie that kind of was redeeming for me in terms of resonating with me is like, you know, sometimes you're your own worst enemy and or you have
Yeah.
to work through your trauma to be able to see, you know, the good or to get back to who you were before or to the thing that maybe you gave up because of it and, you know, be able to go back to playing golf and enjoying that and the peace that it brings you. I definitely think that sports for a lot of people are, you know, they're happy places where, you know, you're just happy playing or and the adrenaline and the endorphins from working out and all that stuff and just the peace of mind of like you don't have to think about anything else except this ball and this club and getting it in the hole. And then obviously Robert Redford talks about how this is definitely a hero's journey type of
Definitely.
movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great. Also, did you know that potentially Robert Redford and Morgan Freeman were going to be in
Yes.
this movie? And I was like,
6 degrees of baby.
I was like, oh my God, we could have got an unfinished life.
Yes. And Jennifer Lopez could have played Charlize Theron. I think okay, so if I could pick apart. So some of the like reviewers have said this and I do kind of agree with it is that what makes the role like semi more forgivable is that Will Smith and Matt Damon are of similar age and if it was Matt Damon with Morgan Freeman that like large age gap would have definitely felt a little bit more heavier on the trope side. And
Yeah.
then but like Robert Redford is no he's still by 2000 is not a spring chicken either. He's obviously younger but not like younger in his prime by any means. So I'm glad that they ended up going with the direction of more like younger actors because I think that it would have probably appealed to maybe a wider audience. People who were Will Smith fans coming off of Enemy of the State and Men in Black and Bad Boys and Independence Day and all that stuff going to watch this and being like What a 180 turn from that last movie there. But
I'm wincing and whatnot because I'm just thinking of the movies I listed earlier, and it's like, am I going to see Legend of Bagger Vance, or am I going to see Little Nicky or Charlie's Angels, like, or Rugrats in Paris? Like,
definitely gonna go see Charlie's Angels. Like, for sure saw that in the theater. But yeah, I think that like their choice in actors were smart. I also could have easily seen Brad Pitt in this as well, and maybe it would have had more commercial success. Who knows? But I like Matt Damon a lot. I don't really ever have an issue with him. That little golden retriever boy.
like his friend Ben. I don't know how I feel about Matt Damon because I love the Bourne movies, but I feel like I don't like him because I feel like he was a Bennifer hater. So
Okay,
like
but putting that aside, like Good Will Hunting, he does a lot of really good like screenwriting and directing, acting.
yeah, and I think he said, I have to look into this, but I was talking to Danielle about us watching this movie next, and she's like, he said some kind of racist, problematic things about,
Oh,
I
damn
guess,
it.
black women on him and Ben's show, Project Greenlight, which I have to watch to form my own opinion, but I mean, Boston dudes are like one toe away from racism a lot of times.
That's very true. Dang it, I didn't know that.
I don't know. I have to do my own research, but like something about him, it's kind of like more leaning towards the Mark Wahlberg side of Boston than the Ben side of Boston. And Ben could be just as problematic. I don't know as well. I only know him associated to J-Lo. But acting-wise, Matt Damon is very talented and has had a pretty great career. So,
And I think going back to Will Smith, some people might have taken issue with this movie because it was a very toned down version of Will Smith. Like there was maybe one or two instances where we saw Will Smith, as we like to say, like when he was just like, you just hit the shit out of the ball, like you just take that club and you just whack the shit out of it or whatever. Which maybe, I don't know, I didn't look into it. Like that sounds like that might have been improvised because that movie's PG-13, but PG-13 based on some like sexual situations. But other than that, a very tame movie. It does depict some like flashes and images of war, but nothing like Saving Private Ryan, which Matt Damon was in, which is like crazy gory. So I wonder if viewers just kind of struggled with like this very. I mean, it was interesting because in Wild Wild West there were times where he like pretended to have an accent, but for the most part was like South Philly was coming through. And he was just kind of himself, but in this, 1800s time period. But now he is definitely like acting with an accent. We hadn't seen that, I don't think. Maybe if we say 6 Degrees of, because I felt like he code switched a lot.
Yeah.
In 6 Degrees of. So for this, it took me out. Like I knew it was Will Smith, but it was a different side, which was enjoyable if the character wasn't so like. Ugh.
Yeah, I had a problem with his accent because I feel like it was slipping at times, and it did have like those moments, like you said, like in Wild Wild West, where like it felt like it was tinged with like current day, like I don't know how to put it, but just like the way he said things,
Right.
And so I will give him a pass on that because I do think and that shit's hard. And
I mean, y'all just heard me bullshit that Savannah accent. I was slipping in and out of it too. It's tough.
Yeah, and I'm easily impressed by your ability to do various ones, and I never try for a reason, so I don't want to act like I think it's easy. So I will give him that. And again, he's switching from these like big blockbustery type roles to going back to something a la 6 Degrees that is a little more serious and subtle and not really comedy, which is kind of his, safe space comedy and action, and after this we're gonna get Ali, which is like his big leap to that. But in Jet, actually, he talks about this. Obviously, we know he received tremendous critical acclaim for the performance he gave in 6 Degrees of Separation, but he says, I'm not always comfortable with subtlety. Fuck that word. He admitted, I like it loud and clear, but for that reason, it was good to play a character who isn't big and funny, and is a lot more subdued, to explore other aspects of myself and to emote it in a way that's different from any of my past work. He also said some things in this Jet that I was like, red flag on the play, red flag. I need to check your black card, Will, because this thing might get revoked. And I wasn't prepared for this, like, this early in his career. But I think Will probably struggles, like, I kind of struggle with, like, you know, towing the line of, like, trying to be black and black enough, or like, you know, be like, what's black enough, but, you know, also being someone who's educated or well spoken and stuff, and having those things deemed as not black, and you're like, what? Like, that doesn't even make sense. But he says, he's talking about working with Robert Redford. So he's like, when Robert Redford calls you, you'll do anything. This character was difficult in the sense that I had to struggle against my natural instincts, my own comprehension of comedy. There are certainly funny moments and things that are humorous and ironic, but they're not necessarily funny in the classic sense. Sometimes you laugh at the poignancy of the moment. So that was very challenging for me. And I find this problematic just because, like, part of me is like, when Robert Redford calls you do anything? And, like, did you... And this reminds me of J-Lo a little bit, where it's like, did he do this movie because of, like, the people he was working with and not necessarily the character? Because he's recently talked about, like, not wanting to have done slave films, and then, you know, 6 Degrees, he didn't want to kiss a man because he didn't want that to be, like, a part of, like, his career, like, an issue, or, you know, being only seen as that in some kind of negative way. But, like, to take this role and to think about, like, the Black Renaissance of movies like Love and Basketball that are coming out, which people have pointed out problems in that, but to take this role in the 2000s, I just feel like is a choice where maybe he, like, ignored some stuff. Cause
yeah, I was thinking about that too, and I was getting ready of, like, you know, I remember having conversations about that with Jennifer Lopez, about in someone's early acting career, they might not have as much leverage to get to cherry pick their roles. And so when you get a call from a Steven Soderbergh, or who is the asshole who did U-Turn that gave her, like, a really hard time,
Oliver Stone.
Yeah, like, she was just like, you feel like you have to take these roles because of the director and the possible jump that it might give you in that career. So for someone as big as Robert Redford to reach out to you to say, like, hey, would you like to take a role that, like, could have gone to Morgan Freeman, but, like, we're giving it to you, how do you feel about it? Like, I feel like he would have had leverage at this time, but he still has so much more to go in his career that he was probably like, well, shit, like, yeah, Robert Redford, reach out to me. This is going to be a lot different from some of the action films that I've just been in, and then probably committed to do the sequels by already. So he did put a lot of that, like, mental piece aside, knowing that this role probably isn't going to be, like, the greatest, but at least it's a different opportunity in his career.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is too, because, like, he definitely has leverage in terms of, like, the action movies and whatnot. He's this blockbuster king, except for Wild Wild West. And, he, you know, he's like the $20 million, like, he can ask for, you know, these, at the time, insane salaries to do movies.
Yes.
You know, I'm Will Smith. It's the Will 2K. I'm not rolling out of bed for less than 20 mil, baby.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was only, like, him and Denzel Washington, right? Like, there was, like, a select few of people who are making that salary.
And probably like Eddie Murphy,
Mm.
Martin was just starting to maybe get, you know, some of that as well post Bad Boys. But the biggest thing that he said in Jet that I found problematic
Okay.
is that what he liked about this role is that this character was what I was excited about was that it was a whole white cast and the only black dude was like God. So like he knew the dichotomy of like this magical black character and was just he looked at it, I'm assuming, a different way. And I think he probably has changed his opinion on this because in 2017, none other than Jada Pinkett Smith was on Watch What Happens on Bravo with Andy Cohen, and he asked her what her least favorite film of Will's is, and guess what she said? This movie, and I can only imagine it's because of the racial stereotyping and the magical negro trope. So, I don't know in 2000 if she was like, okay, well, I guess do what you gotta do, but I'm not down for this.
Yeah.
Because she also didn't go to the premiere with him. I don't know if that's because she just gave birth. That's probably why.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I'm just curious if, again, it was like, I know this isn't the best look, but this is going to put me in this lane, and I'm going to be able to switch from this action superhero special effects movie dude to being able to do a role like Ollie and later on Pursuit of Happiness and whatnot. So
yeah, I hate to put you on the spot, but you know, sometimes when we're looking at interviews and watching interviews and stuff, sometimes we come up with our own questions. If you could interview Will Smith about this, is there something that you're curious about that you would want to ask him?
About The Legend of Bagger Vance?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he has said he's more been aligned with like Wild Wild West was a mistake, and definitely my worst movie. So I guess I would ask him about this movie and be like, would you take this role again? And like we said, was this like a career choice? Which, you know, it's funny because Charlize Theron's interview, she was like, you know, I don't take roles because I think it's great for my career. I really take them because I like them or I think I can learn something from them and, you know, blah, 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 artsy fartsy thespian shit. Because it takes too much time. It's too much time of your life and whatnot to devote to a character to not have it be like fun or interesting or whatever and just to do it for the sake of your career or money or whatever. So I'm curious if this was like, because I hate to imply that about actors, and I know we did that a little bit with J-Lo. Like, I think her rom-com move was strategic.
Yeah.
I know she likes them, but at the same time, at the same time, it's like there has to be like more challenging work out there. Or better work. Like, why couldn't Will be like, hey, Spike, let's do something together? Because that's what Denzel was doing. Him and Spike Lee did so many movies together, you know? And so I don't know why that wasn't in his mindset to go that way in terms of taking a serious type of turn. So I'm just curious. And sometimes it's just like, again, working with someone like Robert Redford allows for, and Will is very much one of the reasons why we picked him is like he has this crossover appeal. So working with, again, unfortunately, a white director gives you crossover appeal versus like being only in Spike Lee movies, then you're a serious actor, but you're a serious actor in like primarily black serious films versus, you know, being in something serious from Robert Redford to, I don't know who else, like Francis Ford Coppola or somebody.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And hell, what about Morgan Freeman? If he would have took this shit, like, I still would be like, hey, what you do? Like,
to me, I feel like he already fulfilled. Well, I mean, Morgan Freeman was in Driving Miss Daisy, which is not so much of like that magical essence to it as it was just like being a chauffeur.
It's just as problematic.
It is. But he was also in Shawshank Redemption, which helped the like escapee of Tim Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
right? Who was in that film. And I feel like it's a role that he's already done before.
Done.
So when he was looking at that, he might have been like, Rob, it ain't it for me this time. Like, I'm done.
Maybe though. I don't know Morgan Freeman's acting career great, and again, I'm not a movie buff in that sense, but like now that you say that, like I feel like that's a problem with him.
Yeah.
Like I will say at least like I feel like this is one of the few Will Smith movies that might be, you know, within this tropey thing.
Yes.
I feel like he
Yeah.
learned from this hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But Morgan Freeman, the fact that maybe you built a career on playing these kind of characters is definitely a big red flag. Where you're just like, I'm gonna sit this one out. Thanks. I've got enough on my roster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do think that, you know, Robert Redford does talk about Will being able to be serious and the qualities of him just kind of being this warm, fatherly type character is an appealing part of it. Like Badger Vance has to be a nice guy, you know, and especially being a black character at this time, like he can't be like some ruthless, like I don't even know what to say because I'm not trying to negatively stereotype black people in another way. But
also just unrealistically happy and always had a smile on his face and never seemed to be bothered by anything.
Yeah, that's the magical part.
Right, of course. It's like that. Yeah, never mind. It's just like the jovial, like, everything's great. You just concentrate on that ball.
Yeah.
And it almost gave me instances of Get Out, where
Ooh.
at that point when you go to those people, when the main plot of when you go to the people's house and they have there was like a lawn, I don't want to say gardener, but just like a yard work maintenance, but there's like a house cleaner and stuff, but they're all just very like, obviously we know that they were brainwashed and had been, so it just, that like the way that they were behaving reminded me a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, very yes sir, no ma'am, and like I'd do anything, like, or oh, and the like $5 thing, like I was just like I'm just because 10,000 $10,000 was on the line.
And he's just like, all right, my $5 as you promised. And then he leaves before the game ends. And they're just like, Bagger Vance, you hear me? You'll never party a game in here again in Savannah, Georgia, as long as I see it. Okay? And then as he walked in, I don't know, it's just, again, I feel like it's insulting to not even acknowledge this like major historical era where they're already clearly acknowledging other parts of history at that time, but just completely like, nope, that didn't exist back in then.
Yeah, and I think the character Bobby Jones, I think he had a black caddy too, right? And then Hagen's had like an
a Sikh,
East Asian,
or like possibly Hindu, like maybe that was that little connection to the script, but but also like hearing this movie's rated PG-13. They say shit once, and then other than that the dialogue's very clean, but like every time you hear someone using a Savannah accent saying the word bagger, it just like
very close. 2 letters.
It was, as we say, le spicy, especially that little kid like, Bagger Vance, you tell him no. Tell him not to do it, Bagger. No, where are you going? I was just like, oh my God. Very teetering tightrope walking the line here.
Yeah. On another note, I do want to talk about like the direction and storytelling in this movie and like cinematography and stuff, because I feel like the opening part of this movie, like the whole well, I appreciate like the newspaper clippings and stuff of Juna and like looking up to this guy and the legend that he was in Savannah. But like I could have done without World War I, and I could have done without like some of these I felt like unnecessary opening scenes, like in terms of building like the backstory of it all, but that's just me. I did like the narration part of it, but I feel like that's just a trope that I've come used to, again, a la The Notebook and The Sandlot and things like that.
Totally. Because it really was through that kid's perspective.
Which I kind of... Yeah, I didn't get... Did you get it until the end of the movie, or did you pick up on it earlier?
Yeah, I picked up on it. I mean, as soon as he was just like, "This is my 6th heart attack on the golf course." and then as he's laying down, he's like, "Let me tell you about the Legend of Bagger Vance." Like, the whole entire movie just flashes before his eyes as he's like laying down. Meanwhile, you have to assume that people are like, "Should we call 911? Are you okay?"
Yeah, like, why tell it that way? Like, why not have him, like, telling his grandson as he's, like, teaching him golf?
Yes, like, he's taking him to putt-putt, and he was like, "Did you know that I golfed with the likes of Walter Hagen and Bobby Jones?" And the kid's like, "I'm tired of this, Grandpa." And he's like, "That's
Yes, like the vehicles with which they told this story.
Yeah. Or the meme of like, "I used to play with this people in the Great Depression." Sure, Grandpa.
And even like Charlie's and Juna's love story, like, I love a good romance and love story, so that was the part that really got me in my notebooky feels a bit, with them like running around all happy back in the day, and then...
Yeah, but she was like weirdly trifling. I didn't at first I was like, why didn't he just go back to her like when the war was over? She was clearly waiting for her. Like, she never got married. She instead like became the heiress of this like family fortune, and then tried to keep her like father's legacy alive. He took his own life after the Great Depression, when like they opened up this golf course and like, no one can afford to play anymore.
And I think he was in a lot of debt too.
Yeah, he had like owed all of these people in town who like came to do the landscaping and building and whatever and stuff. And so even like Hardy Greaves, his dad, had to become like a street sweeper because he had spent every last dollar to like finish his project and pay off the debts from the like golf course and stuff. But I guess 10 years time happens in between like Juno going to war and then coming home, and he just like never even sees Adele. And then she comes over and she's just like, "I'm gonna fuck you, and you're gonna play golf, and that's gonna be it." And he's like, "Okay." And then the little boy's just like,
I related to that part. I was like, I'm definitely this little kid, like...
Yes, that's my mom's eyes trying to come, like, and I'm like, trying to watch it.
And I was mad when he, like, just popped up, like, I was like, "Go, lay down, like, you're ruining." But luckily she did not actually have intercourse with him while that kid was there. Correct. But
they kissed each other, and then he said something to piss her off. Their relationship actually reminded me a lot of The Notebook, of that like tumultuous, like pitter patter fighting, but then like "I love you, kiss 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 kiss" kind of thing.
Yeah, because she did such the like female trope of like, "I know this is really serious right now, but like, why the fuck didn't you call me?"
She was like, "It's the last day of this golf tournament. You haven't talked to me in like 10 years. You ghosted me. Like, I'm not even gonna acknowledge this shit that you saw in the war, but like, you really hurt my feelings when you didn't even come back and say hi to me." And she's like, "Anyways, go play golf." That's why I said, like, I felt like she was trifling a little bit. I don't know.
It's the hormones, women can't be trusted. It was just so up and down. Like,
It was up and down. I mean, they got their happy ending at the end. And I do love this era of music. I liked the soundtrack of this movie, weirdly enough. Not this like background happy golf music, but just the jazz music that they input at this time.
Yeah.
I have a lot of like family history that stems back to like the early jazz players and stuff. So I feel like there's a little sprinkle of that in my blood in some weird way. But like the style, the music, I have a feeling if I truly 100% believe in past lives, I think I was a flapper girl in one of my lives.
I could see that. You just channel it so well, too much. I feel like, and I'm sure a lot of Black people feel like this, but I really too like this era. Just it looks so great, and visually, and again the music, the fashion, and all that kind of stuff is amazing. And I don't know if other people feel like this, but like there's that tinge of like, oh, but what was happening to
Yes.
us at that time.
Yes.
And I know I've seen like where people, I think this again, my favorite site, Twitter, where someone tweeted like, Black girls can do cosplay and let them wear their poodle skirts or their 1920s like dresses without bringing up like, oh, like, are you trying to, like, without bringing up the issues of like race from that time. Like you can like that stuff without it having to be like you're betraying your ancestry or your history by appreciating a time where we were more oppressed and whatnot. Like,
okay, I see. Okay.
it's a hard, because like the time travel question of it all, it's like I'm always like, I can't go back too far. Like, even the 80s is iffy because you've got crack, but yet you've got hip hop. So, and I think that's the dichotomy of being Black in America, is that there's always kind of this struggle and these situations of adversity and systematic racism that we're fighting against and trying to make better. But there's also, we find the beauty in life and we come up with so much stuff despite all of that hard circumstances. We come up with shit like jazz and rock and roll and R&B and the blues and hip hop again. Like, even though the 80s not that far ago, like, the crack epidemic and just all that was going on with that, and you couple that with the birth of hip hop, it's like you have this amazing thing happening, but you have this shitty ass thing happening, and that goes all the way back to, you have amazing things happening in the 20s with jazz and big band and swing and stuff like that, the Harlem Renaissance, and amazing writers. But then, you have like the fuckery that is like, again, just racism and all kinds of stuff happening. So I think I too appreciated this era and, all of these things, but it's always that little like Black voice in the back of my head that's just like, don't enjoy this shit too much, like, or just keep in context that. And sometimes maybe you just have to be like, shh, I'm just watching a movie. Like, I'm not okaying it. I'm not getting married at a plantation. Like, we're good. Blake Lively. Anyways, I like Blake Lively, but flag on the play again.
That was a flag. Yeah.
Any more thoughts about the Legend of Bagger Vance?
Okay, you've called it Badger a few times, like the
Bagger. Because this movie badgered me to death. No. My bad. That's my
badge.
That's my tone lock and iced tea of the episode.
I'll let you have it. It's fine. It's fine. We all know what you mean. It's not bless. I don't know. I mean, yeah, other than that, like, I don't know if this is a movie, if it came on TV, that I would like stop to watch necessarily. I found it different. And like you said, Mighty Ducks, Sandlot. Those are like kids' sports movies. I'm trying to think. Like, I liked Moneyball. I liked the Jackie Robinson movie.
A League of Their Own.
League of Their Own. That was great. I even liked Field of Dreams, although at some points it was kind of boring. That was Kevin Costner.
Angels in the Outfield.
Yes.
Love and Basketball.
Yeah, okay, there you
Brink. Johnny
Okay,
Tsunami.
now you're naming all these really good sports movies. I'm like, maybe I do like sports movies, but this was not one that I really liked. This gave sports movies, maybe it's just golf, because I don't connect with the sport. Like, I'd rather watch a baseball or a basketball or a skateboard, Lords of Dogtown, you know, like that kind of a movie over golf. But
yeah,
I don't know, the 1920s piece of it or the 30s piece of it was like, okay.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I feel like at this point, any movie I've already seen, if I see it on TV, I'm like, oh, at least it's familiar. Like, so I will say that I've never heard of this movie and I've never seen it on TV. So there's that.
Yeah.
Also, a friend of mine at work, Janelle, was telling me that her boyfriend was like, damn, all these Will Smith movies are on. And I just saw someone tweet that as well, like Gemini Man and Hitch and Hancock, like all these Will Smith movies have been on TV. And I don't know if that's like a little like trying to get him back in people's good graces, a la reminding people like, hey, you like Bad Boys, right?
Yeah, he's still a good actor.
So I'd probably, if this came on TV, I'd probably would give it a look. I don't know if I would completely watch it or not, but I probably would. Now, obviously, this role doesn't hold up to today. We don't want to see this on our screens no more. And there's absolutely no reason to remake this unless we're doing a major diversity rehaul and we're getting some people of color in here.
I would see a Spike Lee edit of this movie.
Ooh, okay. I see that. I would love to see a movie of, I should look up, hold on, I'm going to look up that golfer, that Steph Curry. It is Lee Elder. So Lee Elder was the first ever black man to play at the Masters. Okay. And so I would love to see a golf movie about that if we want to throw black people in golf. And like I said, obviously Tiger is going to come probably eventually because Hollywood can't stay away from one, a biopic, and two, a sports film, or a documentary. I think there are Tiger Woods documentaries already, but I wouldn't be surprised of a dramatized retelling of his life at some point, which would be enough drama for about 2 movies. But yeah, I would love to see something like that instead of this type of golf movie. So somebody black, please, if you love golf and you want to make a movie. Hell, Will plays golf. He had a fucking not mini golf, but he had like a hole or 2 on his property. Oh. Because in his, I think the Vibe interview that he did in like 99 or something, he was teeing off in like a Phillies jersey. So like he loves golf and he's pretty good at it. So like, produce something about Lee Elder or somebody. Get Steph Curry to help produce and donate some money and like make it happen. So yeah, leave this one alone. Don't remake this movie. Don't use this trope no more. None of it. We don't want it.
Yeah, agreed.
Do we have a movie snack and cocktail?
Cocktail, yes. Snack, not so much. But a cocktail for this one, I'm sucking down a tall iced mint julep. Even though it didn't make an appearance in the movie, a lot of the men were just drinking straight scotch out of glasses. This is past prohibition, so people are drinking again, but
I don't think it is. I read something that said that
Oh.
they shouldn't have been drinking because it was prohibition.
Shit. Well, red flag on my historian card. I should get that stripped from me from not knowing that. But, I mean, I guess desperate times call for desperate measures if they're just going to be drinking scotch. I mean, it was at like a very rich, like,
Yeah.
country club.
And again, privilege. Like, these are
Right.
men of a
Right.
certain power in Savannah, and they're probably like, y'all can't drink hooch, but we are. Like,
That's right. And we're gonna do it wearing tuxedos and dancing
Yeah.
to jazz music. I'm going mint julep for this one and cigarettes. Even though it's not a snack, but there was like a lot of smoking, especially from Walter Hagen. He would put his little cigarette down and like make a swing. And so I like oftentimes when sometimes I dream where I am like in a 1920s jazz club and I'm smoking and I can it's an unfiltered, roughly rolled little cigarette on one of those long little Cruella de Vil cigarette holders. And that's what I'm imagining while watching this movie, having a mint julep and a long little cigarette. It's not a snack, and I'm sorry, smoking's really bad and it's super stupid. Don't do it. But like, that's my vision for this. What about you?
I was thinking drink-wise, like a hard sweet tea, just because the south of it all. But I didn't have a snack, but your mint julep, Disney lovers, you can't have a mint julep without being by the beignets, and I know that's like a Louisiana, New Orleans thing. I have family from there, so absolutely no, it's not like a thing Georgia is known for, but fuck it. Like, I'm sure somebody in Georgia makes beignets anyways, so
Oh, yeah.
I want a beignet, but for you people who do like pie, maybe a
love
peach
pie.
cobbler.
Oh yeah, a good little Georgia peach pie, a peach cobbler. All right, I'd fuck with that.
Yes. I would fuck with like a hand peach pie. I don't know what it is about real pies, but I do like those Hostess or like McDonald's hand
Yes. Yes.
empanada type pies. So I would fuck with one of those, but whatever floats your boat in the pie world, just make it peach. So like a peach sweet iced tea with some like booze in it and peach pie or like peach beignets or something.
Did you see that Disney just released a banana beignet?
No, but I did see that they had beignet Mickey ears, I think.
Oh, of course they do.
I think so, or I'm making that up and they're going to steal my idea.
Our little Disney FBI agent's like, oh yeah, good idea.
So, I think, that wraps up the Legend of Bagger Vance.
That about sums it up, friends. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you again for listening to this week's episode, and to the people who've stuck with us and was able to see the field with us so far. Please come back for another episode of the Piggly Wiggly version of Inside the Actor Studio.
But seriously, y'all, if you like us enough to stick around, take another deep dive down this IMDb rabbit hole with us as we discuss Will Smith in another legendary sports movie next week, Ali.
Yes, and on that note, if you've got nothing better to do, go figure out a theme to watch a bunch of movies you've never seen.
I'm Simone, and subscribe to this magical, blessed mess. Leave us a like if you are into it.
And I'm your host, Bria, and it would be awesome for you to wipe off those buttery popcorn fingers and give us a review. Follow us at Roll Call Pod on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and my favorite, Twitter. And Simone, we've got some merch, right?
We have some really freaking cool merch right now, everybody. We're working on our our Will Smith line, and when I say we, I mean Bria, but Bria has hand done every single one of these designs. We have our classic buttery popcorn Blockbuster roll call logo. We have a really rad J-Lo line with VHS tapes that Bria actually owns that she put together. And if you're on Team Little Raj with, I don't know, after today, we might be like, damn, Little Raj, you have to take time out for a second.
Like I opened this episode, you know, they're not perfect, and I'm just here for the entertainment and the ride. So we forgive you, Lil Raj, but, you know, don't be hogging the butter pump like that.
I am a proud owner of a Lil Raj magnet on my car. I have a big sticker, which I'm trying to figure out what to do with. This mofo is the size of my head, but you can order him a little bit smaller if you want to. And I also have a sweatshirt coming, but we have lots of really cool designs. So if you want to support our pod in a weird, cute little way, buy our merch. Get a cool hat. Yeah. Get some socks.
Support an independent podcaster who doesn't have daddy warbucks behind it, a la Charlize Theron in this movie.
Love it. And this has been another episode of Roll Call.
And cut.
Cut.